Hey guys, so it's my Friday. Yeah, it's Friday. Today was a good day. It was an excellent day. It was the perfect ending to a very long week. Um, I didn't do any videos this week. I haven't done them for a hot minute. I think I blamed it on being tired, but like life is hard, so you're always tired. That wasn't it. I'm not quite sure what it was. I have another YouTuber that I follow, who's also a Scorpio, and he made a comment about how it was a real strain for him to get online and to make a video. Like he really had to force himself to do that. And it just reminded me of this whole idea that I have of the interconnectedness of all things. And I've always believed that. Um, some spiritual experiences that I've had that I might or might not go into because they're a little fruity, they're a little out there, and I don't want people to think like I'm actually crazy and actually seeing things, but they did they did really happen, and they allowed me to see and experience firsthand that idea of the interconnectedness of all things. I've always been very attracted to the Native American belief systems. Um, I always just attributed that to the majority of my childhood being spent in the Southwest and being surrounded by that culture, and I very much feel it. But being that I am not Native American, um, I always backed away after a certain point. And then um, later in life, after I read a book by Tom Robbins, and I've mentioned this before, how literature has played a huge impact in my foundational belief system, how I view the world has been heavily, heavily influenced by literature and the books that I've read and the ideas that I've encountered. And a lot of those ideas um, were not new to me. As I had mentioned before in previous videos, when I was in my 20s, I started college and encountered the idea that there were there were opinions out there that I hadn't thought about, that I didn't know anything about. So I decided to go out and try and learn as much as I could and have opinions on those things. And in that process, I would do a lot of thinking about the way the world worked and the way things were the way they were and why. And I came up with my own ideas about that, of course, as most young people do. Um, and then when I would read these books, and I was famous for just going into a bookstore and just or randomly picking a book. Like I love to do that. Like not even necessarily looking past the cover. Just picking it up. Just randomly going with the vibe and picking it up. And I learned a lot by doing that, actually. I learned a lot. And one of those books that I randomly picked up was even Cowgirls Get the Blues, which I highly, highly, highly recommend for young people. However, literature is very, very timely, and I touched upon this in my prior video when I was discussing how belief systems and personal growth and personal mistakes, all those things are very much a personal timetable. You cannot put your timetable on another person's spiritual growth, intellectual growth. None of that is under anyone's control but possibly the universe's and whatever higher power may or may not be, and that own person's pacing. And you really can't push that. And I think it's a big mistake to try. Now, if they reach out to you with that information, or if they seek it out, that's a whole other ball game, which is what I hope to accomplish with my videos. Because I remember being in my 20s and there was that feeling of excitement. You're going out, you're creating your own personality, you're creating your life. It's all new, it's all fresh, it's exciting, you have a lot of energy, your mind is strong and open. And that's a lot of fun. That's a fun place to be. There's a tremendous amount of hope and energy behind it. And in that, going back to the Tom Robbins quote, he has a character in the book that he called the Chink, which is hilarious for a lot of reasons that you'd have to read Tom Robbins to fully understand. Um, the black humor behind calling a Chinese character the Chink, and the inherent racism that is in that, and the commentary he's making about that, and on and on and on. But one of the things that he said, which really resonated with me, is that people in Western society will try on different belief systems. They will wear them like a costume. And I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with that, and I don't think Tom Robbins was implying that there was. Um, but you can only go so far with that because you're not Native American, you're not Asian, you're not Chinese, you're not of that world. And I mean, you can veer off from this particular debate in talking about genetic memory, those types, you can get way down that rabbit hole. If you really want to get tin hat, you can even talk about past lives, which I might get to. Um, ooh, like this is one of those conversations that can veer off in a million different directions. Point being that you can only go so far within a belief system that is not your own, the one that you grew up in, that is not your, say, your initial one, the world that you were raised in, your own inherent original ethnicity or nationality, because then that can get skewed as well. Why did I bring all of this up? Because I didn't feel like doing this video. I didn't feel it was very much a struggle to do it, and then hearing another Scorpio say that they were going through the same thing, and then I noticed that as he got more into the video, his energy picked up and he started going and had a lot of really important ideas, but I could still feel behind it that he was struggling, that wasn't really there. And it made me wonder, like, okay, anyone who has worked in food service or retail or worked with the public, which I firmly believe, I absolutely believe that that should be mandatory for Americans. The Israelis have a policy in their culture where all people of a certain age group prior to college have to give 2 years to their military. And it's mandatory, and there's no getting out of it, and that's just what they do. And it helps pay for your school, and you have to serve your country, and it teaches them all these different skills. And I think there would be a lot of positive happening for American culture if we did something similar, in saying that all young people out of high school prior to entering college needed to work 2 years in a service industry of some type. It would give them time to mature. It would give them a break from learning, because a lot like myself, I went right from high school into college, not necessarily because I was gung-ho and knew exactly what I wanted to do, but because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it was just the next step, and I just went for it. And I think that's not necessarily the best way for everyone to proceed, because by the time that I got to my senior year in college, I was finally starting to actually learn. I was finally appreciating it. I finally had the emotional maturity and stability to actually take it in. I wasn't fraught with constant panic attacks and anxiety. I wasn't obsessed with social issues and my standing therein. My own identity was getting a little more solid To throw someone right from high school into college, I think, is problematic. Uh, and I wish that Americans could maybe look at a different way to go about that. And I think giving high school students the opportunity to just work a job, a mindless, service oriented job for 2 years prior to college would give them a nice, thorough basis and a break. It would give them a break so that they could maybe appreciate learning more. Because you get burnt out. You get burnt out on anything that you do for too long. I was originally going to talk about the interconnectedness of all things and a very powerful movie, Kowanasqatsi, but I'm losing the light. You can see after work, I'm losing the light. So I'm just going to cut it short. That's my little, I don't know what. I hadn't done a video. I felt like I needed to get back in the saddle, so I did it. And the next 2 days I have off, I'm going to indulge in a bit of sleep. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day.